With 90s, they decided to develop Pudong as a new place. So Pudong was one of the suburbs. It's always quite ambitious, brand new tabula rasa. So I think ideologically there must be something there that the government prefer to go to a new place or have a clean site or farmland and just have their dream, utopian, ideas realized. But you could have secondary town centers where some of the public buildings, this was part of that effort to create some nice public buildings. So not just create commercial towers and things like that. The nice city, one town, that's the last wave of this suburban development. Shanghai government had this idea of thematically develop each of the 9 towns, giving a French or British or American, German, whatever. When it's opened up, then suddenly not only they want to surpass a city like Shenzhen, they also want to catch up with Europe or with America. That's where Shanghai sees itself. It should be aligned with these top-tier cities like London and Paris and all that. So this became a convenient way to say, hey, we have these themed towns which are sort of windows to the world almost, or you bring the world to our suburbs. Another very important concept, which came out very recently, is the Shanghai Free Trade Zone. And this is going to be a groundbreaking policy. The Free Trade Zone, within, you can set up foreign companies. You can set up a lot of business over the special economic zone or a concession in contemporary time. So very high level experimentation with economics, but it has a land and urban implication. So they're really eager to use this as a new way to stimulate the Chinese economy. Also, China is facing a lot of critical problems with economic. So the government knows, in order to make these areas successful or alive, they need to upgrade the kind of architecture. They also need to bring in some public programs so that eventually people are willing to live there. And also, they hired a landscape architect that would kind of look at all the landscaping, the paving, signage. The kind of thing that you would do for a proper European or American project, where you actually design all of this, like a system design, not just the iconic buildings. And this started, I think it started first with this city, Qingpu, about 5-6 years ago, and I think, some of the many of the architects that you would find in Shanghai now have started, young architects have started their work in Qingpu, and now offices are growing, experience are getting better, but also projects are getting better in this district. So that gives you a pretty good kind of a basis to understand Shanghai. So. The urbanization is happening in such a way that many of the places being rebuilt are like what used to be farmlands or just empty empty parcels. That the architects inevitably have to build the context. There's no way around. You cannot expect other things to give you a context because there is none to begin with. And it's what kind of context you build that's important. I think all the problems we see are the result of architects. Most of the architects building in these kind of contexts, they don't have the idea they're building context. They're just thinking they're building buildings, the most iconic, the most kind of flashy-looking buildings. But those buildings don't create context, or they create rather terrible context. We were curating the Shenzhen Biennale, and the theme is called city regeneration. And one of the ideas was that we shouldn't look at buildings as permanent entities anymore. We should look at buildings with the idea that they could also expire. And if you design with an idea that there is an expiration date in the building, then you can be much more liberated. You can be much more free about design, right? And you just anticipate the life is 10 years or 20 years, and then it will be rebuilt or it will be demolished and changed. So I think that's more of a conceptual thing for me, to keep this as a possible working, model. China's problem is not with the specific density of a of a city like Shanghai, but it's with the general density across the country. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of openness, but there's also a lot of places it's just a kind of continuation of a kind of a low urbanization, but not nature anymore. I think the Chinese way of dealing with urbanization, of course, a lot of mistakes that it had committed in the last 30 years, but learning from those mistakes, in some of the projects we come across, the client has an awareness now what to do, right? And I also appreciate a lot of foreign architects coming in and do things here, because then you really, like you said, you bring in different styles. It's really bringing the international people and come in and respond to local problems, right? So these are the people that came from outside, but they stayed here for as long as they could and do things that were somehow unique to this place. So I think that is also a very important contribution. The contribution is not just what you can help the Europe or America, but also you contribute to kind of a world culture. You know, this is, after all, it's a kind of a cultural production.